Okay. Hi, everyone. Okay, let's see if this works. Welcome to the Kaleidoscope Florals stencil and Traci Bautista ink and watercolor collection launch party. Um, I hopefully you can see me now. So let me just see how this is working. Okay, we should be all good. Yeah, it's so weird. I could see it in my okay. Let's see. Let me know. You're about like 30 seconds behind me talking. Um, so I think we're all good. Okay, for those of you who are still here, thank you for still being here. I think we got it all figured out. So you should be able to see me inside of Crowdcast now. I'm hoping. Actually, let me just check it on my app and see how it's going. Let me know when you can see me and hear me. Thank you, everybody, for your sweet comments about my paints and inks. I'm going to share a little bit of those today. So for those of you who might not have seen the broadcast before, I'm back live, and I was saying that I am... You still can't get... hold on. It says unlisted. I don't know why it's not working. Can hear you on Crowdcast, but no picture. Going back to YouTube. That's so weird. Okay, hold on. Can you all see it in YouTube though? And hear it in YouTube? Let me just keep going. I don't know why. Okay, I can hear it and see it in YouTube. And still no Crowdcast. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going. If you want to watch this, apparently it's not working in Crowdcast. I don't know what is going on with Crowdcast today. So we'll just put this in. That's the YouTube link if you want to watch that. And you can still comment in here if you want. This is awesome. So nothing like live stream videos. Okay, awesome. So you should be able to see and hear me in YouTube. And if you are in Crowdcast, thank you for being here and chatting with me so I can at least chat with you. So what I was saying earlier is that this is, I think, my fourth collection maybe of stencils. I don't know. But all of them have been designed from artwork that I have already painted. Like normally my Soulful Scribbles, if you look back here, there's a painting from the Soulful Scribbles line. There's some of the stencils from that line. And those were painted, or those were designed from my original painting. So a lot of times what I do is I take my original paintings, take photos of them or scan them, and then I deconstruct them to create the stencils. And I do that in a couple of ways. But with this collection, the Kaleidoscope Florals collection, I created these completely on the iPad. So I'm going to share and show you some of those files just so you can see how I created this particular stencil line. But if you missed the first part of this live stream, I was saying that the Kaleidoscope Floral Stencil Collection, I designed an early, I think it was 2019, early 2019, and I released it in my shop for a limited edition for the holidays. And I then I've been wanting to release it with Stencil Girl, but with last year and everything, I finally got all the files to them, and now it's going to be in all of your hands. So it looks like that some of you have orders that are on the way, so thank you so much if you have purchased them already. I hope you're having fun playing with once you get them. Hope you're having fun playing with them. I'll show you some of the art that I created and you might have seen some of the snippets in the preview video. I have a new course that is all about stencils, ink, and wax. That's going to be coming up in July. So some of that is as little snippets from the new workshop. So if some of you are waiting for a mixed media workshop from me, which I haven't done one in a long time, I have that coming in July. So stay tuned. I'm excited. We're going to dive into a few fun techniques in that workshop. I've got some new waxed wedges. For those of you who have been around Traci Bautista Color for a while, I have designed different types of wax crayons and different wax wedges that you can use as resist. And so I have a whole new line of those coming out that are also encaustic paints. So I'm really excited to share some of that coming up. I started doing encaustic mono printing probably back in 2013, and when I wrote Printmaking Unleashed. And so the last few weeks I have been digging out all of my encaustic supplies. They are all over the studio, and some of them were in the garage. And so I'm excited to share more about that with you all coming up. So okay, so I think that everybody should be good. Thanks, Mary Nasser. She said the new workshop sounds amazing. I'm excited. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's see. Okay, yeah. So just click on the link. Here's the link again one more time, just in case you can't, for some reason, you already sent that message. Crowdcast doesn't want me to post it twice. Okay, does somebody else want to post the YouTube link? I don't know why they won't let me. It's really, I don't know, maybe they changed something on here. That's so strange. Anyways, okay, so let me show you really quickly. Some of you who are going to be in my Procreate pattern class, you'll appreciate this little sneak peek. For those of you who do not use the iPad, how many of you use the iPad in your work? I would love to know. This is just a little background research for me. Let me share my screen really quick with you for this. Thanks, Mary. You're awesome. Yeah, Cheryl, they must have changed something. I don't know what it is, because you know what? I wonder if it's just because I decided to go live in YouTube. Like this one, I haven't done that in a long time, so maybe that's the problem. I'm not sure, but apparently it doesn't like me doing that anymore. So, but I'm glad you all can see me in YouTube. So I think we're going to be all good. Let me just bring my iPad up on the screen. I need to type in this code and we should be all good. And I probably just typed the code in wrong. Okay, good. Here we go. I think we're good. Yay! We got a couple of people who use Procreate. Let's see. Let's do. Okay, we got the iPad. You should see my iPad right now. And if you're looking at this and saying, why is she showing me this? If you just got here, I am showing you, I wanted to give you a little background about how these stencils were designed and just kind of talk through the process. So there is so much that you can do when it comes to using the iPad. This is probably the first stencil line that I designed entirely on the iPad. A lot of times what I'll do is bring the art into the iPad and clean up my art, but these I designed right here inside of the inside of Procreate. So I just wanted to show you a little bit of that. And from there, you can do so much. So I have sets of collage papers that I've designed. I have fabric that I designed using the same motifs. I'll show you just one last thing, and then we're going to dive into the painting fun. you can see some of these, I actually did like some that were snowflakes. So you can see the background of these are some of those stencils turned into digital brushes. So once you design things in Procreate, there's so many other ways that you can use the actual files. So this is just one last thing. This is just a really quick pattern. You can see that's one of the stencils, and I created it into a repeat pattern. And that's actually done with a brush. I created a pattern brush inside Procreate. So I just thought I would share a little background behind how these fun things are created. And then I've got a whole line of digital brushes that will come out sometime in the next few weeks that you can actually use inside of Procreate. And I'll share more about that when they're available. But you can create collage papers for your art journals and so much more. So that is just a little bit behind the scenes of how I created them. And so once they're created, I send the files out to Stencil Girl, and then they manufacture them for me. And now they'll be in your hands soon. So, okay, I'm going to share my camera or my screen, my table, and then we'll dive in. I'll be painting. Is anybody else painting? Let's see. Mary says, love using the iPad. Cheryl says, I love the iPad too. Awesome. Yay. So many of you. Jane. Okay, good. Awesome. Okay, so hang tight for one quick minute, and I'll be right back. You'll see my table in 1 minute. Okay. You should be seeing my table. Thanks, Mary, for sharing the link to my stencils. Awesome. You can find all of them at Stencil Girl. Right before I started my broadcast, my little puppy decided to eat paper. She acts like she's at my toes right now. She's so sweet. But I heard something like crackling or crunching, and then I walked outside, and she was like in the corner eating paper. She's so, like, this last week, she's been so crazy with eating all kinds of things she's not supposed to. Okay, so I had these all nice and pretty, but this is the new Kaleidoscope Florals ink collection. I haven't done an entire ink collection at all this year. This is the first one for 2021. So I have a few more left in my shop. If you are interested, I'm going to show you a little bit about how I use them with the stencils, and also show a little bit of some show and tell of things that I already created and that you'll see in the new workshop. And then I've got a whole line of my new Kaleidoscope Florals watercolors. So these, you can see all the little fun metallic flakes and whatnot that's on there. And these have a lot, like some of my can you see those? Let's turn the camera a little, the lights. They're really sparkly. They're different metallic flakes. It's not glitter. It's actually like almost like they lay more like metal flake. So they're actually, it's different metallic flakes on there. And they're really pretty. Like this one is hard to see, but there's like 4 different sparkles on there. So this collection has just a lot of different colors in it, from basically similar to that, but then they have the different flakes and some of my water media flakes on there too. So these paint pans take up to a month to create because they're poured in different layers. They're made in really small batches, and so I only make a limited number each collection. And so those are the new ones. And I'm going to paint with, let's use, one of my favorites from this collection is this really vibrant kind of pink color. I forgot the names. I named all of them. I should probably look, but I'm going to show you how I use them. I love putting them in little dishes. On the right here, you'll see that you'll see that this is actually the last collection I designed. The what is it called? Why am I blanking? Reimagine was the first one. The Magnolia Blossoms collection. So this is all watercolor on this slab, this marble slab, and actually this is a marble ceramic tile. And anytime I design a collection of paint, I save a little bit for myself and I put it on the tile. And so I use this big tile. It's like 12 by 18 maybe. And so I have a few of these with all of my different paint collections. And so I've got some of the reactive crystals here and this is just one of the paint dots from a previous collection. I had a whole little tray of things kind of topple over. So, and then you get to see my fun stencil collection underneath here. So you'll notice that I do not clean my stencils very well, and that's on purpose. I just clean them in between papers when I use them, and that's about it. I rarely take like a baby wipe or anything to that. You can if you want, but the way that I work, it would take forever to clean them, and it's just not worth the time to clean them. And they actually, once they get a little bit of paint built up on them, I think that they're nice. They're nice and like not thick, but they are nice and sturdy. So I'll show you a little bit about how I clean them, which is basically just painting with them. So Cheryl asked, how's Indy doing? She's doing good. I gave her a bland diet for like 3 days and she loved it. She got ground turkey and rice, and all she wanted to do was eat that. So but she's doing much better. Thanks, Cheryl, for asking. She is a cutie pie. She's too much though. You would think that I don't feed her enough because she eats everything in sight. A couple of weeks ago, we were out in the backyard. I was having breakfast, and then I saw her. Well, I heard her like crunching on something, and then when I went to go see what it was, she had a stick in her mouth. So then I grabbed the stick, the part that I could grab, and then she went off and scurried to the other side of the garden, and then I went over there. She was like violently shaking her head, and she freaked me out, and she had this stick stuck in her, so I had to bring her over to my neighbor's house, and my neighbor was like holding her. We were both trying to get the stick out of it. It was stuck in her tooth, and oh my god, it was just drama. This little girl's nuts. Maybe I'll bring her up here. I'll take a picture. Let me take a picture of her. You have to see this. This is too funny. Let's see. And let me just take a quick picture and I'll show you with my phone. She's got beds like in every room in the house, and then this is what she's this is like right up my toes. Can you see that? She's so cute. Okay, so I'm bringing these two things out because I used the big gel plate from Ranger for most of the papers that I'm going to show you. It's very messy and dirty. I talk about that when in the workshop, but let me just pull this out because then I might use it in a minute. Sorry. She just poked her head up. She's like, why are you waking me up? Okay, so you can see that this is well loved. Obviously I don't clean my gel plate well either. So this is one side I use for acrylic, the other side I use for water media. So I try not to use acrylic on the other side, so it's a little cleaner, and I am not getting acrylic on my watercolor brushes. So I used the gel plate for this. I used one of my favorite papers is this drawing pack from Strathmore. You can find it in the kids section. It's their 100 series, and I don't know what the weight is. I want to say it's like 65, but it's great if you want to make like collage papers. It doesn't say, but you can find it like at the craft store on Amazon, I'm sure. I think I got this either at Target or at the craft store. And the other paper that I love, which I didn't bring the pad, but it's this craft paper too. And then obviously my mixed media paper from Strathmore is one of my big favorites. So let me just show you a couple of these things, and I'm just going to kind of walk you through some of the things that I did. So a lot of these papers started with just some watercolor prints. And so this is using my stencils with watercolor, my handmade watercolors, but you could use any watercolor you have. And you can see you can get some really beautiful prints with them. Because they are so detailed, you need something that keeps them holding in place to get this kind of print. And so I use the gel plate. You could also use, I know Mary Beth uses that pixie spray. So any kind of like removable spray will work also. And then one of the next layers that I do over that is to wash it with one of my inks. And so some of these you can see I printed not only with watercolor, but I also printed with titanium white not high flow. I keep calling it high flow. Titanium white golden fluid. This is one of my favorite paints for like if I want to use acrylic. I use the titanium white with my watercolors. It makes it permanent, one, but then it also makes a great resist. So you can kind of see some of the resist on there, and we'll be talking about resist inside my new workshop too. And so I'm just going to show you with maybe one of these. How about this one? Lots of layering. I do lots of different layers with the stencils. And so let's just take, I'm going to take a little bit of ink. Let's use this color opposite. Let's see. Cheryl says crazy fur babies. Yes. Thanks, Char. She said, gorgeous. You guys are so sweet. Okay. So one of the things with my inks, some of them have mica in them. This particular color doesn't, but I think 2 or 3, actually 4 of them do. You can tell by the bottom of the bottles, you'll see the sparkle. So if there is mica, and actually just with any of my inks, I always recommend just shaking them up just a little bit. And then I work with them right out of the bottle, but I also like to put them inside dishes, because then you can control the amount of paint that you want to use. And or you can also, one of the things that I love to do is to also work with them with my watercolors. So I'll put some out on the slab here too, and then I can mix it right with the watercolors to create other colors. So this particular set of inks, I make both pigment-based and dye-based inks, but these are dye-based inks. And they have, like I said, some of them have a little bit of mica on them. So I'm going to show you first just washing over here. The brush, I was talking about this with Mary Beth yesterday. One of my favorites now to use is this little Sky Wash series. It's from, it's a silver brush. It's a 3/4 inch. And so I just take that and I'm just gonna wash this over the top, and you can see how vibrant this color collection is. So it's like highly saturated, highly pigmented, and I should have put a little bit more out. And I can even actually put a little water on my brush and just make a little bit of a lighter wash too. So a little bit of that pigment goes a long way. And then I'm going to show you what I do on top of this, just to kind of highlight, and you got to see some of that stencil stuff that's happening on there. And sometimes I like to mix a couple of the colors on here. This is going to be, you can see what happens. This is a great mixing set too. So you see where it's overlapping. It's got this, you get this beautiful violet kind of purple color. So that's the one thing about this set. When I designed it, I wanted you to be able to mix like a bunch of different colors. So the set comes with 8 different colors. And now that I have all of this on here, what I normally do is I work on a lot of different papers at once. So you'll see that like I have probably a stack of 50 papers here. And I love to kind of keep everything moving and flowing. So I'm gonna take one of the stencils and maybe 2 of the stencils, and I'm just gonna do a couple of prints with them also using gesso. So one of my favorite things to use is gesso, either using it on the top to bring the print so you can see the print of the stencil out a little more, or underneath as a resist. And I have some gesso in this little container. Let's bring this down just a little, like so. I have one of the stencils I kept in its mask, so you can keep it in the mask like so. If you want to take it out, all you got to do is there's these little notches and you cut them out, and then you have both the mask and the stencil that you can use. So I love working on this while it's wet because then it tints the gesso. So I'm just taking a palette knife and really quickly just scraping all of this onto the, oops, I got some on the gel plate underneath there. And you can see I'm kind of messy. So you could tint this. I actually could just mix this with my inks and paints too, which maybe I'll do that for the next one that I do down here, just to see the difference. We'll let that, I can pull it up right now if I want to, but I'm just going to leave it right now just so I don't make too much of a mess. And I could take this, let's put a little, what color do I have there? There's maybe, let's do a little of this turquoise color on top of here. And I'm just going to mix it with the gesso and just drag it, and you'll get a nice little kind of teal color with the ink. So my inks and paints can be used with all kinds of different media. You can mix it with other inks, you can mix it with your favorite paints. I love mixing it with white, either gesso or titanium white, just to get these really pretty tinted colors. Let's move this way a little. And it's going to pick up a little bit of that red that's underneath there too, just because it's, or that pink that's underneath there because it's wet still. So, oops, that is, you can see some of the pink coming through there. So it'll probably change a little bit, but I can bring that up and you can see it kind of dyed the paper underneath there too. Before I make a mess, let's put that there because I'm going to print that in a minute, and then I'm just going to pull this side up too so you can see this stencil. And there you go. So that's using gesso to print with. And I'm going to let this dry just a little bit, and I'll wash over that again later with another color. But you can see just like the tint of that color. If you don't want the paper to get dyed, you can mix your gesso and your inks before you do that, and then you won't have, you know, all of the color seeping in the center. So let me grab another piece of paper, and I'm just going to take these and clean them on, and I'll show you what I do with them. So I'm grabbing just a plain sheet of paper. Thanks, Cheryl. Sure. Darling little diva Indy. Seriously, this little girl, she's too much. She's too much. She is too cute though. Okay, so this is the side that has all of that stuff on it. So first, one thing I'm gonna do before I'm gonna throw my palette knife in there. I'm gonna take a sponge and just kind of sponge it out with a little bit of color on it and just move it like this, because then it's taking that gesso. I'm cleaning off the stencil into the center so that I can like take off all that gesso, but also give it a little tint of color. So if you've been around my world for a long time, you know I don't like to waste anything. So I'm always figuring out ways to use everything up when I am painting. And so this is one way to clean off all of that excess. Oops. And then just dragging it through the stencil. And sometimes the prints, you know, they're not going to be like perfect, but I'm not aiming for perfect. I just want enough little stain of color just to have a little bit of texture back there. So you can see like right there, that's fine with me. It's not really a big deal. One of the other things that I like to do is, do I have a spray bottle? Yeah. I take my spray bottle too, and then that's the other way that I'll clean it off. So I'll just put a little water on there, and then you can do the same thing, just drag it and see. You might get like a little stain of color on there with taking off the rest of that ink and paint. And then you can see this is going to make a really pretty resist once it dries. It'll just have a little slight texture. And then the last thing that you can do is actually just take this and with a brayer it. And, you know, if anything else comes off, that's a bonus. But that's about as clean as my stencils get. Like that's it. And then I'll put that aside and let it just kind of sit there. So that is just a simple little sneak peek of some of what I am going to share inside of my new workshop. Let me get a paper towel. Let me see if you all have any questions. Any other questions? Okay, let's see. So I'm going to just take this one really quick and do the same thing. There's just a little bit of gesso left on this one. It kind of dried up, but okay. So got a little fun little print. You can kind of see that on there. And then let me just show you a couple of these other pieces before I bring the camera back up. So this has one of my inks on there. So this is similar, just with the different stencil. And you can see what happens with the paint. And actually, that might be acrylic. So you can experiment with using acrylic to do that. And different colors. So a lot of this is my ink, the blue, the which color? This, I think a little bit of that purple. This is Squid Ink by Paper Artsy. I love the Paper Artsy matte. Their chalk, is it chalk? Or I'm not sure if it's made out of chalk or not, but it's their matte paints. That's one of my favorites. Seth has a bunch of colors with them, and I forget, this is one of their colors too, which I don't remember what it's called, but that's a really nice one that I love using. And oh, this is the Squid Ink with that blue too. Those were two that I used with it. So that's a little bit with using the acrylics as the base. But I love using my watercolors as the base to print with, because you get this like really transparent like look with it, and you can get just a variety of, you can see little hints of pink and whatever the inks and the watercolors are made out of, you get those little things kind of shining through. Let's see, we have one question. Let's see. Brenda. So Brenda said, how does one get notified or shop for your workshop? So if you click underneath the here, underneath the, if you're on Crowdcast, there's a little green button and you can check out the Kaleidoscope collection there. I'll be sending out a little interest list for the workshop coming up. If you're on my email list, you'll definitely find it, but you can access my email list on my website, and also all of my online workshops in there. Okay. Let's see. Let me see how we're doing on time. Hang tight for 1 minute. Let me just bring up my. Okay. Let's see. Let me grab a couple of the other stencils. I have a few of them lingering over here. I don't know, it's hard to choose which one is my favorite. There's so many fun things. Some of these, so they're all inspired by different florals. Each one has a floral name attached to them, and some of the masks remind me of Hawaiian quilting patterns. So if you use the outside mask of like this one right here, definitely would look like that. The nice thing is too, you could actually take some of the different stencils and use, or the different masks, and put them behind the actual stencil, so you get different patterns back there. So you could stack them and then use something like this, and I don't know, you could just kind of play to see what happens. But if you want to use both the stencil and mask together, and they are separated, one of the easiest ways to do that is to actually put it on something that is going to keep it. So you can either spray it, or you could put it on something like this to keep it in place, and then work with it on your gel plate like so. And because especially if you're going to use watercolor, this will allow you to get that stencil to stay in place and work with it. And if you wanted to put this back in, in its spot and use it as a stencil and mask, you could do that too, where everything kind of stays in place. So that's one way that you can use the stencils really easily with inks and watercolors. And then it won't move around as much. So let's just take a little, I have ink here. I'm going to mix it with just one of the watercolors that's on here. Let's use this up before we go. So I have a multicolor print that I'm going to get here. And paper would be good. I really didn't need to keep that edge on there, because I think we'll see how that looks with the mask on there. Well, that one didn't come out that great. I didn't put enough paint on there. Let me do that again. I'm going to move this out of the way. This one, it can be a little tricky. Just, ooh, hold on, that's wet. I'm just going to leave it because it is very detailed. Let's grab a little more ink. And I think that I want to put, I'm just going to grab a little watercolor. Are there any swatch stamps available? Are you talking about my paint and swatch stamps? Did I tell you all I found a whole case of them in my garage when I was looking for something the other day? So there are a select amount left in there. So if you want to grab them, I would suggest that you look in my shop. If you click that button below, you'll be able, if you look for the under art and under art stamps, you'll find them in there. Oops. And so I'm just wanting just like a little bit of color on there. And I like that, even though I put a lot. So it's kind of like you kind of have to just kind of play with it. But that's what I'm looking for. Like I want it to be kind of messy looking when I'm printing it. And I don't mind the kind of like watery look. It's fine with me. But because what I end up doing, I would just want that texture in the background so you can see how you get a nice, fun print. Okay, let's just clean this off, last one. And we'll let that dry. Okay, does anybody have any more questions? I'm going to come back up on the camera. This is what that fun little print looks like. And that'll make a nice, fun background. I'm probably going to make some of these into a little book. We'll see. Maybe I'll add that into my class. I haven't designed too many books lately. I have lots of journals. If you when I move the camera up, you'll see. I'll show you a couple. This is with fiber paste. So if you use Golden's fiber paste or molding paste, light molding paste works great. You can experiment with all kinds of different mediums. I highly suggest trying different things out because if you want texture, here's how this one is drying so far. I'm really loving the dual colors underneath. So those are the two inks, some of my watercolor underneath, and then gesso. And you really can get so many fun different effects. I wanted that kind of peeling paint effect from, like when I traveled to France, to Paris a few years back, a lot of the cathedrals had that really, like those distressed walls, that look. And so that's one of my favorite techniques to play with. I had a couple here. Where did they go? That I was sharing earlier. Let me see how they got here. I don't know where I put them. They were on the brown craft paper, but that's one of the fun techniques that I'm going to share in the workshop. But let's see if I can find them. Well, I don't know where they went. Okay, let me move my camera back and answer any last minute questions. Yes, Shar says building layers really makes a difference. Yes, most of these have like 3 to 5, 6, 7 layers on them because you do really get that depth inside your paintings when you work in layers like that. And let me switch right back. I'll be right back in 1 second, a few seconds. Okay, for those of you who are still here with me, thank you so much for hanging out today. I I wanted to show you those other things, but I don't know where they are. One of the things that I'm going to be talking about, this is not going to be in the workshop, but with the wax, we're going to do a little bit of ink and wax. And so this book I designed for Collage Unleashed. If you have my first book, this handmade journal was featured in that book. And so I made this back in like 2003 maybe or so, 2003. But it's all wax and crayons. The pages are hand dyed with watercolors and inks. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that process in my new workshop with the new waxed wedges. So this was painted with my handmade waxed crayon cupcakes back then, and so now I've made them into these like waxed wedges. And so this whole journal is all the pages are done with beeswax and crayons and some of my handmade waxed crayons. And so there's lots of textures and things you can do with the stencils and inks and wax. So I just thought I would share that. So here's a stack. If you're new to my world, you might not have known that I design handmade books for a long time. I haven't released a collection of handmade journals in a few years, but I've probably made over, I know I've made over 500, probably closer to 1,000 different journals that are out there in the world, all kinds of collectors all over. So yes, text says love ink and wax together. Yes. um, uh, Still here as soon as you grab the journal. Awesome. Thanks, Shar. um, Okay, so I have a few more sets of the inks. If you're interested, you can click on the link underneath. You can also, that'll take you to a link to the stencils, my stencil collection with Stencil Girl. And I have two sets of, not full sets, I'm giving out four stencils to two different people. Um, and 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 then I think I will send a set of 3 inks to one person. I can't send the stencils and inks together because of the packaging. So, oh, actually, I might be able to do that. So what I'll do is I'll do 4 stencils and 1 ink, and for 2 people. That's what I'll do, because I think that I'll just put it in a priority mail bubble envelope. So um, I am, let's see, what would be a fun way to do this? Let's do this. How about, I would love to know, if you could list what it is that you are excited about working on in your artwork right now. If you could share that in the comments, and I would love to hear that. And I'm going to choose these after. So some of you, I think most of you are on my mailing list, but if you are not, then I will I will let you know. I'll put a message in here in a little bit, but I would really love to hear what it is you are excited about and what you're working on in your work. That's one question. And then how about something, the other one I'll do, let's see. What are your 3 favorite colors? If you could only work with 3, well, that's too easy, because if you had the primary colors, you could make any color. So no, let's do this. How about, what are your 3 favorite supplies? I would love to know. Um, Let's see. Miriam says, will you be sending the links for the class? Yes, you should have received an automated email when you signed up. The links for the classes were sent out right when you signed up. So I'm going to send out another email today that has a reminder, so you'll get that. If you have no marketing turned on your profile, then you will not receive any information. So if you're joining me for Procreate Pattern 5X tomorrow, the Content Hub is ready. I'm going to start sending out invitations to that. And then the actual live class, the link you should have received already, 2 emails, I think, that had the links in them. So I'll be sending out another one today. So if you just recently signed up, you should be all good too. And I thank you everybody for writing what you're working on. Awesome. Doreen says, I'm just learning to play with watercolors. Yeah, I love how you showed them how to use them with the stencils. Yes, there's so much you can do with watercolor. I have been making watercolor for over 10 years, but I started selling watercolor, my inks and watercolors, in 2017. And every collection is so much fun to create. It's just this alchemy. I start with an idea for some of you who are interested in the paints, how paints are made, how my paints are made. I start with an idea for the collection, and it usually is inspired by traveling, which I didn't get to do much last year, but my collections all last year were based on so a lot of my travel previously. And then this year, a lot of them have been based on just things that have been happening every day in that I kind of have encountered on my walks with Indy. And so the last collection, the Magnolia collection, was inspired by these beautiful magnolia trees that are here in the neighborhood that I live in. And so it starts with that idea, and then I pull colors from that. I take photos of the actual things usually, and then I pull colors from those photos a couple of different ways. And then I start with one color, and then the palette gets built out around that. And that was kind of like with the Kaleidoscope. Obviously, Kaleidoscope, there's so many colors. So I designed it to be kind of that prism rainbow, but with a little twist. Like, that's not your typical rainbow of colors. Like, you know, the green is much more a yellow green-ish color. And then the blue, there's 2 blues that are in here. And they all mix together because the colors that I use to make these are all they have all the same base in them, and I have shifted them just a bit to make the colors that I created. So it's so much fun to create the inks and paints. It's really this like alchemy. There's not really recipes that I use when it comes to mixing the colors. I don't use pigment straight out of a container. There's a lot of paint makers that just take a pigment and mix it. Like, anybody can do that, but the magic is when you can take a color swatch and say, I'm going to make that out of a few different pigments. And that's what I do with both the inks and the paints. They're all multi-pigmented. So Wow, so many of you have been answering. This is awesome. And thank you for sticking around with the whole crowdcast. I'm not sure what happened with the video. So I'm going to download the video and then I'll upload it back into crowdcast, and you'll get to see the replay in there in case you missed it. Or you can also watch the replay with the YouTube link for a short time. So I love hearing and reading. Mary says, one of the Mary says, 3 faves, ink, stencils, and paint. Awesome. Elaine says 3 favorite supplies, paper, paint, and collage bits. Yes. Ginny says Sumie ink, watercolors, and Tombow markers. Awesome. Yay. Thank you. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to put the winners that I choose inside here, but I'll also send a message out in my email list. So some of you, I might have your email already. I'll just look up your name and see. But thank you so much for sharing what you are working on. Judy, I love your specificity. Is that the right? Your specific answer, phthalo turquoise watercolor. I love, that's one of my favorites too. Phthalo turquoise. Shar says, paints, inks, and stencils. So much inspiration. Yes, so fun. So some of you I will see tomorrow for pattern, I can't even think, Procreate Pattern 5X. I'll show you, for some of you who are here, let me see if I can bring this up really quick. I'll just show you a little peek. So a couple things that are coming up that you may be interested in are, I'll just show a little sneak peek. Some of you already have seen some of my new content hubs, which I'm really excited about. Let's see, this would be the desktop. And you should be seeing the Procreate Pattern 5X. So this is what my new classrooms look like. I've been hosting my courses, my videos on Searchy, the Searchy platform, for a while. And so now I've got these really fun, easy classrooms that you can navigate and watch. Inside here, we've got a pattern library. There's additional workshops. So inside the bonus workshops, there's a bunch of videos that you get access to. And if you were part of the Mixed Media Lab preview, this is similar. That's hosted in the same place. And so this is what the inside of the classroom or the content hub looks like. And so for those of you joining me for that, you will get access to that starting tomorrow. And I am really excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then in July, I have a new session of art to digital products. So if you're really interested in how you can turn your art into digital products, I'll be doing that course again, kind of with a new update. And this summer, I'm also going to be teaching another pigment to paint workshop. So if you're interested in making your own handmade watercolor and inks, then you may want to join me for that. And my new play membership is going to be launching. I think it's probably going to be in July. So you'll be seeing more about that coming up. But that is going to be a fun monthly live stream, a little bit behind the scenes studio peeks. If you're familiar with my studio notes journals, you'll get to or my studio notes video journals. You'll get to see a little bit of behind the scenes in my studio, from product design to writing my next book to just different things I'm working on. Sometimes I'm in the garden, sometimes it's like somewhere I'm visiting. So lots of fun. It's really the idea of play, and really comes back to that core message in all of my workshops is to play and to explore. So every month we will dive into some new fun techniques and ideas, and we'll be playing with lots of different mixed media supplies, not only my paints, but some other fun things. So ink and wax workshop will be part of that. So I'll be sharing more about that soon. Okay, everybody. I am thrilled that you are here, that you got to join me. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to go back and watch read all of your comments, and I will let you know who the winners are soon. And I look forward to seeing you again in one of my workshops or one of my free live streams. I'll do another one probably next quarter. But thank you so much for those of you who have purchased my inks and paints or my stencils. I hope that they bring you a lot of joy and you are having fun exploring and playing with them. So thanks, everybody. I will see you next time. Take care and have a beautiful summer, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your week. Okay, bye. Oops.